Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited, the FAA's administrator is in self-quarantine. The FAA seeks input on Cessna 206 cargo doors, and Democrats warn no blank checks for airlines. Welcome, I'm Sophie Herlock. FAA Administrator Steve Dickson is currently under self-quarantine for the next 7 days after coming into contact with afflicted House member Mario Diaz-Balart before a hearing on March 11th. For the foreseeable future, Dickson will be following CDC protocols despite the fact he has not been tested for the virus. For the next week, like many of you, I will be teleworking from home. From there, I will continue to support the courageous efforts of our 58,000 employees and contractors during this trying period for our nation, Dickson reported. Following the advice of healthcare professionals within the FAA and around the country, I have not received a COVID-19 test because I have no symptoms associated with the virus. Should that change, I will immediately be tested, he explained. We'll be right back with Around the Patch.
The Sling 2, a modern, economical flight training airplane for today's pilots. 120-knot cruise, sporty handling, sliding bubble canopy, modern glass panel, and dependable Rotax power. Available in LSA or kit versions. Check it out at airplanefactory.com.
Welcome back. It's time for today's trip around the patch. The EAA headquarters facility closed to the public this week in accordance with the latest guidance from the CDC and other federal and local health officials. Many EAA staffers will be working remotely at this time, including EAA member services. The EAA Aviation Museum will also be closed through Tuesday, March 31st, for the safety of staff, volunteers, and possible visitors. EHang Holdings Limited has entered into a cooperation agreement with the city government of Seville, Spain, to execute the first urban air mobility pilot program in Spain. The agreement specifies that EHang will work with the Seville government to develop the urban air mobility, including passenger transportation, air logistics, and command and control platforms in the city. Following the implementation of new measures in France and Spain to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, Airbus has decided to temporarily pause production and assembly activities at its French and Spanish sites across the company for the next 4 days. This will allow the company to implement stringent health and safety conditions in terms of hygiene, cleaning, and self-distancing. The company will also continue to maximize home working when possible. The FAA published a special airworthiness information bulletin concerning potential issues with brakes installed on Bombardier Challenger 600 aircraft. According to the SAIB, on March 1st of 2015, a Bombardier Model CL600-2A12 airplane experienced a landing overrun and subsequent collapse of the nose landing gear at Marco Island Airport in Florida. It was reported upon landing the pilot was unable to extend the ground spoilers and then applied moderate braking but felt no deceleration. The pilot subsequently attempted to deploy the thrust reversers but was unable to do so. We'll be right back with the rest of the news.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Transport Canada recently contacted the FAA with concerns for the use of cargo doors as an emergency exit on Cessna 206 models, following a fatal accident in August of 2018, where a float-configured U206G capsized and became submerged after loss of control during landing. The TSB of Canada concluded the accident was survivable. Canadian authorities are considering mandatory action to require a Cessna door handle kit. placards, and limiting the airplane occupancy to 5 for all Cessna U206 airplanes on the registry. The FAA has recently published an airworthiness concern sheet highlighting the issue. The agency is requesting owners, operators, and pilots provide any information on prior experience with the 206 cargo doors with regard to use, operation, and clarity of placards and instructions, as well as any modification or alterations completed by owners and operators that aid in the usability with and without flaps extended. The Cessna 206 cargo door configuration and use as an emergency exit has been the subject of several discussions since its introduction in the 1960s, primarily following float-related accidents. The FAA is continuing to investigate to determine if similar AD action is required. Democratic lawmakers and some union officials are insisting any aid to U.S. airlines to offset losses due to the coronavirus include protections for workers and consumers. Many industries are currently struggling as the coronavirus has people staying home, and airline travel has decreased dramatically. Assistance for U.S. airlines would be included in a sprawling government relief package being discussed by the Trump administration and Congress. Airlines have requested direct grants totaling $25 billion, 5 times more than they requested in the wake of 9/11. But some Democrats in Congress have been critical of airlines using profits generated by the run-up of the stock market to buy back large blocks of shares. While Democrats and labor unions acknowledge the airlines did not cause this problem, some say any aid should come with conditions, such as ensuring employers across the aviation industry maintain benefits and pay for every worker. Airline lobbying groups Airlines for America says airlines are spending as much as $10 billion per month, as cancellations far outpace new bookings, and the situation is getting worse on a daily basis. And that wraps up our week, everyone. Don't forget to click subscribe and to check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. To stay up to date on the latest aviation and aerospace news this weekend, head over to aero-news.net. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you Monday.